What's going on, everyone? Welcome to ThursdAI. This is Alex Volkov. I'm coming to you live on June 4th on the highest signal AI news show that you can ever subscribe to. We've been at this for over 3.5 years, and we have been training. We have been training for weeks such as these because this week was absolutely stacked with AI news from Jensen in the beginning of the week, and MiniMax released a new version, and Nvidia has just literally dropped in breaking news Nemotron-3 Ultra, and we're gonna have Chris Alexiuk, friend of the pod, to talk about this. And there's three new image models. One of them is open source. We're gonna compare between all of them, and Microsoft came out of nowhere, declared to be a frontier lab. There's literally just a torrent of AI news, not to mention that supposedly at some point today, maybe there's going to be like a drop from OpenAI. We'll see. We're not in the speculation game. But as always, if you are tuning into ThursdAI, you know that we're going to try our best to cover all of this in just under 2 hours. We have two incredible guests today. We have Chris Alexiuk from NVIDIA, aka Joe Nemotron, the guy who writes the blog post. Our friend of the pod, Chris, is going to join us in about an hour to help me cover all this news. We have our friendly co-hosts here, Jan Peleg and Wolf from Reve and Wolf. Welcome, guys. LDJ as well. All right, this is it. This is a TLDR, this section of ThursdAI, where we just run through everything that we have on queue for you for today, Thursday, June 4th, our first show in June. With you, Alex Volkov, AI evangelist with Weights and Biases, and CoreWeave. With me, co-host today, Wolf from Raven Wolf, Jan Peleg, and LDJ. We have two great guests today, Chris Alexiuk from NVIDIA, aka Joe Nemotron, by the way, a friend of the pod that has been on the pod multiple times to talk about NVIDIA 3 Ultra, which also is breaking news, just dropped today. Another guest is Karan, co-founder of News Research, to talk to us about Hermes Agent, Hermes Desktop, and the incredible success that News Research has been seen lately with Jensen calling out News Research on stage. Computex, you guys see this? This is crazy. Huge shout out to News Research, our friends from way back. We talked with News Research way before they were even a company. So I love bringing Karan back to chat about their latest advancements. In the big companies,
I tested their models when Hermes referred to the models and not the agent. Now it has
Hermes models before the agent. Now it's changed a little bit. They're still a research lab. They're still releasing cool shit. All right, in big companies in the labs, I think that maybe we'll have some news about Joule Alpha, a potential GPT update, but we'll see. Meanwhile, NVIDIA decided they changed the PC game forever. NVIDIA RTX Spark was part of the announcements at NVIDIA's Computex. They're claiming that this is their first PC chip ever. They have an RTX 5070 class GPU, 128 gigabyte memory, and 1 petaflop of AI compute onto thin laptops. You guys see this? This is insane. They're able to run models, big models. This is Jensen obviously showing this up. They're able to run models on these laptops, and it's quite crazy trying to compete with MacBooks. We're going to chat about this a little bit. In addition, Microsoft also announced laptops together with these RTX laptops, but Microsoft had their own event this week called Microsoft Build. They showcased a bunch of AI stuff. They switched to agentic almost completely, very similar to Google I/O. Microsoft decided to not only come out with like best models, they also decided to say, hey, we're now a frontier adjacent lab, not quite a frontier lab. If you guys remember, Microsoft obviously was one of the first investors in OpenAI. Microsoft came out with 7 models from MAI. MAI is Microsoft AI's organization that is the result of the acqui-hire of Inflection AI. If you guys remember, we talked about Inflection a long time ago with Mustafa Suleiman and Karan Simonian, like a bunch of other great folks that built a near frontier lab, and now they trained models from scratch. Those are not fine-tunes of kind of open source Chinese models. They released 7 models across thinking, encode, image, transcription, and voice from zero distillation. Zero, like all of the data is sourced, and we're going to talk about them, specifically the image models, but also the thinking models. Obviously, here are the models: MAI Image 2.5, MAI Image 2.5 Flash, Transcribe. MAI Thinking 1 is their new LLM, and the MAI Code 1 Flash is the new LLM that's trained specifically for VS Code. I'm definitely going to chat about that. I think that this is it in the big companies in news. The only other thing that I can tell you is kind of because XAI is now a big company. It's SpaceX owns XAI that owns X, so it's SpaceXAI, and they're officially fired for IPO. And prices there are insane. So we're going to mention this a little bit. And TBD on Joule Alpha. Maybe OpenAI is going to drop something, maybe not. Right, folks. AI Art and Diffusion is the second order layer of important things that I have to bring to you because this week was just absolutely insane. Obviously, I just talked to you about Microsoft MAI Image 2.5. They hit number 3 on text to image and number 2 on image to image arena leaderboards. Very briefly, shortly after that, yesterday, Ideogram dropped 4.0. We talked about Ideogram multiple times. They have opened the weights. So shout out to Ideogram. Let me have this shout out thing. Ideogram dropped the weights for their best text to image model. 9.3 billion parameters. It's a huge one. And they claim insane text rendering and layout control. I've tested all these models. Can't wait to show you my tests. But this beat, I think, Microsoft's MAI on the benchmarks. And they are definitely the number one open model right now. They're beating FluxDev and QuenImage and Hunyuan and all these. So shout out to them for the open sourcing of the model. And we also had Reve 2.0. I told you about Reve. Folks, maybe remember Christian Control. The co-founder used to be in, I think, Stability. Reve is launching number 2 text-to-image model. This one is a layout-based model. It's a very interesting approach. You see the layout shaping as the model converges. I would love to show you some generations from Reve and their editor specifically. I have compared all of these models. I can't wait to show you for the thumbnails for this week. So I will show you that. So a lot of news in the AI art and like image diffusion world, although some of these are no longer diffusions. And then we go to open source. Open source has been on fire this week. We're going to go to breaking news because this literally just happened. AI breaking news coming at you only on ThursdAI. Alrighty, the biggest breaking news from today from the world of open source is NVIDIA drops Nemotron-3 Ultra. We talked about Nemotron-3 before. Nemotron-3 Ultra is a 550 billion parameter beast. It's a hybrid Mamba-Transformer. It's an open model, fully open, including the data, and it's built for long-running agents. And for some reason, it has 5x faster inference. We're going to talk with Chris Alexiuk from NVIDIA about this release, but it's a very interesting release, especially in the world of open source. NVIDIA is not playing around, folks. NVIDIA is not playing around. And it's great to see that fully American-baked open source is catching up. I am saving our comments about this model for when Chris comes here in an hour. I will say, though, another breaking news is that we have this model up on CW Inference. So shout out to the folks who work really hard. CoreWeave Inference based on Western biases is now serving Nemotron-3 Ultra in full. Folks, we also have a new Google Gemma. Did you guys see this? We have a Gemma 4, 12 billion parameter, a little bit bigger. They call it Encoder-Free Multimodal model. It runs on your laptop with 60 gigabytes VRAM with full Apache 2 license, which is great to see. JetBrains dropped a small model also on CW Inference. It's a 12 billion parameter model with 2.5 billion active parameters, trained from scratch by a team of 7 people from JetBrains. Shout out to the JetBrains folks. They have some comparisons here. I don't know if we have quite enough time to go deep into Mellum, but Mellum 2 from JetBrains. That's good to see. And I think a big one. It's not fully open source yet, but definitely a big one. Wolfram, you can confirm. I see you nodding. MiniMax M3 drops the first soon open weights model combining front encoding, 1 million sparse attention context, and native multimodality, which is huge. This is huge news. So shout out to MiniMax for their releases and not yet open weights, but I heard that they're coming out next week. This is the TLDR. This is everything that happened. Out of this, we're going to choose the most important things to kind of dive deep on. So please stay with us as I shoot through this super quick so we can get to the actual show. Some folks prefer this format. Some folks prefer just the highlights so they can go and explore on their own. Let's talk about tools in agentic engineering. Cognition rebrands Windsurf. You guys remember Windsurf? Windsurf is no longer. Windsurf is dead. They rebranded Windsurf to W&B Desktop. It's a multi-agent command center with ACP support. ACP stands for Agent Communication Protocol, I believe. Wolfram, please correct me if I'm wrong. But basically, it's the way where you ask one agent to control another agent. So you can control codecs and cloud code, etc.
Isn't that the one that has 2 different meanings?
Yeah, but I
will-
specifically mean the one that you can control other agents. Yes, but agent client protocol is the right nomenclature for this. And Windsurf is now Devin Desktop. No, bye bye Windsurf. We've missed you. It's been a year since your last rebrand, and this is finally the final one. And our friends from News Research launched Hermes Desktop. It's your Hermes agent goes native on the Mac, Windows, and Linux in public preview. So you can just do Hermes Desktop as a command. You have this beautiful desktop experience. We're going to hopefully have screenshots of it because I cannot run this on my work laptop. But we're going to have Karan, a co-founder of News Research, talk about this latent success, exploding success for Hermes Agent with showcases on NVIDIA Computex stage and tons of exposure as well. Alrighty, this week's Vaz, a corner where we talk about weights and biases and CoreWeave. We have a few things for you. First of all, you can join us for this weekend at Weave Hacks 4. This is a coming weekend. We have few spots left. If you're in San Francisco or want to travel in San Francisco, I'm actually flying out tomorrow. Please join us at lou.ma/weavehacks. We have OpenAI for the first time as a sponsor for Weave Hacks. We also have Cursor. We have a bunch of credits for you, a bunch of food, a bunch of great judges that I reached out personally. So shout out to some of the judges. Last but not least, last corner, folks. We're almost there. Almost starting. Let's add Nisten here as well. Voice and audio. So this is actually launched last week, but it was after the show. 11 Labs Dubbing V2 is an audio-to-audio model that preserves emotion and performance across 90 languages. It is uncannily good. It is crazy good. It is just trust me on this. My head is not getting as blown anymore because we follow all news all the time and kind of the LLMs are incremental updates. This broke my brain a little bit. This is so crazy good that you must stay here until the end of the show to hear us play with this. Really, it's something. Yam, you weren't here when this happened, but when you hear Nisten speak in Hebrew and you're like, oh shit, this is how Nisten would sound if he actually spoke Hebrew, you will blow your gasket. It's that crazy. So definitely the dubbing is incredible. We also have Cartesia Inc. 2. Shout out to Cartesia, friends of the pod. They've been here multiple times with a bunch of their models. They're leading their models because their models are hybrids or Mamba-Transformer based, and Inc. 2 debuts as #1 most accurate streaming speech-to-text model on artificial analysis. #1 most accurate speech-to-text model. It is really good. I tested it there last week as well. You can see this in word error rate. This is the lowest word error rate that we've ever seen on the show. And breaking news from today, I did not actually know that this is going to drop. NVIDIA also drops Nemotron 3.5 ASR. It's an open source multilingual streaming speech-to-text model. It's faster and cheaper than anything else on the market. So this is news from last week. And then NVIDIA dropped faster and cheaper in open source. And our friends from Daily, Quindla Kramer from Daily, and Pipekit tested this out. So in addition to just dropping one of the best LLMs in the world, NVIDIA also dropped one of the best ASRs and text-to-speech in the world as well. And so we're going to definitely test out all of those, folks. With, how do you do, 20 minutes? Let's go to open source, I think, because we have a bunch of stuff to talk about. But this is the TLDR. All right, let's do open source. Open source AI, let's get it started. Alrighty, folks. So welcome to the Open Source Corner. We love open source on ThursdAI. And so today we're going to talk about actually 2 segments about open source. Chris Alexiuk is going to join us in, I think, 45 minutes from NVIDIA. So definitely we're going to wait for that and then cover the whole NVIDIA Nemotron-3 Ultra and the ASR model then. But first, we're going to shout out the folks from Gemma. Do you guys see the new Gemma release? 12 billion parameter encoder-free multimodal model. Yam or Nisten or LJ, actually, one of you, please tell our audience, if you don't mind, why encoder-free matters at all. Why does it matter when they release a new multimodal model that they specifically mention encoder-free? I would love a few sentences for folks while I show the details. LDJ, I saw you raise your hand. Please go ahead.
Yes. Okay. So the encoder part, you could think of it as almost like another network that oftentimes has its own training and is going to be used to basically translate information such as images into something that can be better understood by signal sent to the actual main model. Encoder-free gets rid of this, and you actually have it more cohesive, more like you would ideally think maybe the human brain works, where it's all in one unified network, all trained together. and everything is just directly input into the model, and everything just tokenized with all modalities instead of having these kind of separate encoding steps.
Thank you, LJ. That's great. So one model, cohesive, unified to handle text, images, audio, and video with just 16 gigabytes of VRAM and Apache 2 license. Yeah, I see you nodding. What do you think about this release? I think it's fucking incredible from the Gemma team at this size.
Oh yeah, look, for those that don't care if it's a different network or how it's trained, you simply get a cheaper model to run. You get a model that understands videos and images, and I think also audio as well.
I want, Nisten, before we get to you super quick, I just want to call out the great effort from Google, in addition to NVIDIA, in addition to some other folks, that they push out commercial models, but they also push out open source. So a huge shout out to the open source team and Omar Sansiviro and a bunch of other folks who we chatted on at Google I/O for pushing for open source relentlessly within this big enterprise called Google. Nisten, this model is a 12 billion parameter model. The previous Gemma was 27, so almost twice the size, like two and a half times the size. And this is a 12 billion parameter model that beats the previous model and is faster to run. Talk to me about this advance rate. What's going on?
Yes, I think so. What I find particularly impressive with this one is that it's almost as if they listened to the criticism from people a lot, and they're training to be a lot better when it's coding and when it's doing agentic calling.
I just want to correct something. It's not as it is as if they listen. They have a Discord server where they actually are there and you can speak to them. The Gemma community is huge and they absolutely listen to what people are saying, and this is the result of this. So I credit where credit is due. They are absolutely doing this for the love of the game, you know.
This is the Hugging Face collection for Gemma. And you can see the previous Gemma kind of release, the 31B. It has 11 million downloads. And the A4B variant for Gemma 26 has 11.8 million downloads. Folks, these are very popular models in the open source. This is not standard kind of Hugging Face release count for a model that was released, a month and a half ago or something like that, right? The other Gemma, the smaller ones, the E2B has 3 million. I think they crossed 100 million downloads overall for all their models, but these models, I just like, and I expect the 12B model to also to get right. Like these numbers, yeah, you agree. Like this is great releases that folks are using on their actual laptops. It's not, hey, you get 1 token per second, so you're saying, hey, I'm running a local mob, but not really. These models are getting used by folks. So huge shout out to the Gemma team.
Yeah.
The idea, look, there is a very good reason for this. There is a very clear use case for these specific type of models that are small, can run fast, and can do agentic work. They might not be the best to talk to, even though they are good.
Yeah,
they can drive your computer for free indefinitely, and many people recognize that. And
I would say
is exactly this slot for this.
Here's one use case, a perfect use case for Gemma, that you don't need a lot of tokens to do. If you're doing batch video processing, for example, and you want to do this offline, and you don't want to send your videos because they're private to you and your family, you can definitely categorize a bunch of videos with this Gemma model. If you're doing a batch audio processing, for example, or if you, for example, building a personal knowledge memory for yourself that sees everything on your screen. Maybe you don't want a Codex Chronicle feature to do this for you. Maybe you want a full offline thing for you, and maybe you only care about the memory tomorrow. You don't care about this immediately. Gemma can process this in your background very easily. So this is a great use case for that. I think the video is 60-second video chunks. That's plenty to do transcription of everything that you did and give you a summary of all of the stuff that you did. You can record audio and listen. Anyway, this is super cool.
Yeah, my biggest problem with 31B while trying to use it in my doctor app was that it was pretty good at the benchmarks, but it could not do anything agentically. And it was pretty bad at the agentic stuff. So I could only use Quen 3 27B as the bare minimum. But it looks like this one has just completely different training. So I am also somewhat excited to see how they update the larger ones for this. So yeah.
All right, folks.
Just a question.
Go ahead.
Because you said an interesting thing. You said that on the benchmark, they look good. On agentic benchmarks, they look good, and then they don't work well as agents, or
I meant medical VQA and things, just looking at X-rays, looking at videos. They would do good in static tests or just one-shot tests. But then if you go to multi-step and you want to pull in a whole bunch of new data, they were just useless for me in the app because it didn't have that training. This is a kind of a big change on their part, I think. So it will be very interesting to see what exactly they changed in the, yeah, I'm going to try it. We'll post on Twitter about it. I think this might become like the most, there's a chance this might become one of the most used Hermes open source now, because at the moment it's still the Coin 27B.
Yep. And I think it's great to see Western labs just pushing this to the frontier and keep pushing this. So shout out to the Gemma team, definitely. Folks, let's move on briefly. So obviously we're going to talk about Nemotron very, very soon. I want to call out JetBrains Mellum, 12 billion MOE with only 2.5 active. JetBrains, obviously the company that used to build the IDE. The IDE is dying, so it's very interesting that JetBrains is trying to reinvent based on the data that they had. Very similar path to Cursor, selling to SpaceX AI, for example, their data. They are trying to build models, and they're actually comparing to Qwen 3.5 and Ministral, a fully European company. So shout out to Mellum. It's up on CW Inference if you want to check that out. Shout out to the JetBrains folks. Nothing too much to talk about this model there besides the pre-trained with 10 trillion tokens with a 3-stage curriculum. A very small team, good model. So shout out to JetBrains for releasing that.
Keep in mind, JetBrains is used by people with actual jobs. So the quality of their data, I suspect, even though it's Java and stuff, but I think the actual quality of their data is probably a lot higher.
I absolutely think that JetBrains has been in the game way before Cursor. So however much data the Cursor had, I actually think that Cursor collected data, and JetBrains for the longest time was just an ID without collecting data. It remains to be seen how much access to data they have. But for now, Mellum is a pretty decent model. So shout out to the JetBrains team. Folks, talk to me about MiniMax. MiniMax has been accused of multiple stuff. This is a Chinese company. MiniMax M3 drops as the first open waste model combining frontier coding and 1 million sparse attention context. It didn't actually drop. My evals here are a little blurry, but on Sweetbench Pro, they're getting 59. On Terminal Bench, they're getting 66. Talk to me about MiniMax M3. What are you seeing from the vibes, the community? Obviously, we haven't tested this yet. It's not an open source model yet, but it is going to be an open weights model. The license, though, will require a lot of stuff. So it's not a very fully open source model. Go ahead. But folks, what did you hear about MiniMax M3, if at all?
I can tell you a very interesting part from the previous MiniMax model was that people that were not like developers and stuff and were just trying out Hermes and setting up agents, they loved it. It did the job for them. And yeah, I had some criticism on the benchmaxing part that it wasn't as good as it seemed, but what MiniMax always had, it was very good at the agentic tool calling, very good at that. Even though the coding quality was it could do agentic stuff very well. And people rely on this because it's so cheap as a replacement to, I've heard of people running their OpenClaws and their Hermes on MiniMax exclusively for almost all of their internal automation stuff that they do. So
very cheap model, for sure, very cheap model.
Yeah.
And obviously the risk you take with sending your data to MiniMax's platform is that all your data is potentially being trained on by Chinese companies. But MiniMax is definitely a very interesting model for folks. So test it out, let us know. And
I asked them that, sorry to interrupt. And
no, you're good.
Yeah, and a lot did not. Some of them were in crypto. Some were just like looking at stocks or preparing the news and stuff for themselves. And they were aware of it. And they said, yeah, I do still have a Codex or a Cloud Code subscription. But for most of the stuff, I just give it the work that I don't care. Or like monitoring stocks. And
yeah, but also once this drops in open weights, many companies, including CW on Inference, will host this. And then your data is going to stay kind of like on the side that you do care about. There's also zero retention companies that promise you on Open Router, etc., that they will not store your data. I want to just call out MiniMax very strongly here. The benches they're putting up, despite being, let's say, accused of benchmarking, they're putting up Opus 4.7 and GPT 5.5 as comparisons. right? So this is a Chinese frontier lab competing with American frontier labs. And look, on different benchmarks, they're coming very close. On some of them, they're even beating. Like, I don't know if I care about SVG bench as well, but like definitely GDP Val and Browse Comp and some of these are very interesting, right? So Sweetbench Pro, for example, we know Sweetbench Pro is a great coding benchmark. They're getting 59 compared to 58.6 on GPT 5.5. Now, after seeing a deep SWE, we know for a fact that Sweetbench Pro is not representative of the real world of coding. Deep SWE is the new eval that was released, and some folks in comments are actually asking us to talk about Deep SWE comparison to Sweetbench Pro. And we talked about Deep SWE multiple times now. Deep SWE is kind of more representative of the stuff that at least I feel like. I want to hear you guys about Deep SWE as well. But from the data curve, I think Deep SWE is a contamination-free coding benchmarks. And as far as the latest, GPT 5.5 is absolutely crushing everything. And the gaps between the models are big. So this is what we want. We want to see gaps. So comparing MiniMax on some older coding benchmark like Sweetbench Pro, where we see this is not the representative of the real world, is not super helpful. So I can't wait for it to be run on Deep SWE. I don't know if anybody ran MiniMax on Deep SWE, but we'll see. Yeah, we're moving on, folks. Any last comments about MiniMax? Shout out to MiniMax team, by the way. They're friends of the pod. They've been on the pod multiple times, and they're doing incredible work. Incredible work, and I can't wait to actually put MiniMax on the CW Inference. I'm not putting this. Shout out to the huge team that's working on this and putting this on the Inference and doing VLM stuff. Shout out to the Inference team at the Weights of Bias CoreWeave. But I can wait to test it out and play with it.
I think it's free right now in open code. So if you just install open code for like another week. So yeah, you can just try it out there. Oh, especially if you're on Windows, install open code on Windows. I've tested the previous MiniMax. You don't even need to register an account. So it'll be there. I think they self-host as well in the US, and it's super fast. It's very few active parameters. Yeah, this will be a very popular one. It looks like this will be extremely popular. Oh, we have breaking news.
Ooh.
Arena AI, they just posted in our group chat that they launched the new agentic benchmark. I just pasted the link here.
Yeah,
Let's go.
It's Arena leaderboard arena for agentic stuff. I haven't read it yet what it is.
Let's take a look. Introducing Agent Arena. Folks, let's do breaking news. I think it's warranted. It's warranted. Our friends from Arena, Peter Gostev, and a bunch of other folks, we look at their stuff all the time. AI breaking news coming at you only on ThursdAI. ThursdAI. Alrighty, introducing Agent Arena. Let's zoom in here. From Arena AI, real-world agentic evals at scale. How do you evaluate agents doing actual work? We measure millions of live sessions where real users accomplish these tasks. Models get the web search, file system, and terminal tools to complete complex workflows, writing code, creating slide decks, researching the web. Every session produces rich signals. Users iterate on agent turn by turn, approving, editing, and correcting, expressing frustration. The biggest thing about Arena AI for the longest time was, hey, Arena was built at the era of chatbots, where you would ask one prompt and you would receive a reply, and they would ask people, hey, is A or B better for you? Obviously, we've moved on in 2025 from this paradigm, and we've moved on into 2026 with everybody using agents. And so the chatbot comparisons no longer works. Arena launches a new leaderboard, measuring each model agentic performance using casual inference across 5 signals: task success, steerability, error recovery, user praise, and tool hallucination. Leaderboard snapshots is built from 300,000 tasks, 2 million tool calls, and 40 million lines of code by agents. 40 million lines of code is not that much, but yeah, okay. Maybe it's a lot. Okay, so results. The top labs in Agent Arena, OpenAI GPT 5.5 High is number 1 by a very nice margin. Very nice margin. Claude Opus 4.7 is just after that, and 5.4 after that, and Claude Opus 4.6. You can see how, look at this. Look at who we have here. Let's welcome Peter from Arena AI as we're covering the Arena. Peter, thank you for dropping on the show while we're also covering the new Arena.
3-minute notice. We just saw the post, and then this is how fast we can do things.
All right, Peter, I already told folks who are listening to this, the original Arena was built for the era of chatbots, right? Like when people just sent a prompt and got a reply, and then they compared between the two. But obviously, the world is moving to agentic. What can you tell us about this benchmark? What can you tell us about the results? And also, welcome back. It's great to see you.
Yeah, good to see you guys. Yeah, this is super exciting. We've been thinking about how to do this for a while, so we wanted to do it right. And I think we got it really right. So the way the arena used to work is that we still can work like that, but there's a battle mode where you can go in, you put in a message, you get two responses, you vote which one is better. And this is genuinely captures like way more than you think. Considering how basic it sounds, the fact that it works at all is amazing. The fact that you get like pretty reasonable ratings. But there's something that definitely was missing about this, and we heard a lot about this from the community, is that we would miss some of this kind of longer term, more difficult tasks that can go on for many minutes and hours. And now we've launched two things. One is the actual agent arena. So now we've got the agent mode that you've got in here. So you can, like, say, build me a website or whatever it is. So you can do whatever you would do in your kind of more agentic products. And you get like a workspace with the files on the side, and you can do many complicated things. You can search, you can generate images. So you can basically, like, as what you would expect to see in a kind of in an agentic product, you can do. So this is first really cool thing. And then what it gives us is that we can measure what people tell us about what the experience is. And there are two things, there are actually multiple things. So one is, if you scroll down, maybe we'll go back to what the final results are. But lower down, we can see the actual sub-metrics that we're measuring.
Mhm.
So like, for example, confirmed success. This is from the users, like praise, complaint, again, from the users, in terms of they don't see which model did the thing, but then they say did they like it or not, and then we collect that feedback.
Nice.
And then there are more objective things like bash recovery, for example. And yeah, so this is like an objective thing that being measured. And then we also put that into the rating. So it's a kind of combination of users' judgment, which is important for kind of softer tasks, but also the objective things like the hallucinated tool, for example.
Hallucination looks like all of the scores are within the very close range of 152%. How much more hallucination tells it doesn't have? So it looks like a very small benchmark, but could you talk more about this?
If you expand this view all 18 models, if you scroll down more, then it gets worse. For some of them. There's bash recovery is an interesting, all of them look reasonable until you scroll down, and Grok really falls down on that. So that's why you see Grok is really bad.
Wow.
So I think this kind of...
Let's call this out for folks who are just listening. I just want to say, a bash recovery is how quickly the model recovers when a command doesn't work. Obviously, agentic is very important. This is what happens in a loop, right? The model tries a tool, the model writes some code for it, and then the model decides to, hey, maybe I need to try a different flag or a different parameter, etc. We're seeing that bash recovery, GPT 5.5 high is the best at bash recovery. The score is 17%. And when we scroll down, we see the Grok 4.3 from XAI is really bad at it, worse than the Gemma 4 31B and Gemini 3 Flash and the older models like MiniMax M3, very bad at 89%. This looks like almost like a bug in like how they trained the model. This is very, very interesting.
I love this because we were just calling out Gemma 4 31B for being bad agentically on the show, just anecdotally about how we feel about this. And we're saying, oh, if we had a benchmark that showed this better, and then the benchmark just showed up. That was 20 minutes ago.
Awesome.
So about this also, Peter, just before we continue, is that this does represent how I currently and the vibes currently on our feeds kind of talk about models. GPT 5.5 high is by absolutely the best agentic model, especially if you're using coding. And if you want to do some stuff less coding focused, the Claude Opus 4.7 is really a great model. It doesn't look like you tested 4.8, or maybe there's not enough data for that one yet.
Yeah, 4.8 is coming. I think we should have it probably Monday, Tuesday. Everything, because it's very new, we just want to make sure that everything works correctly and so on, that there's not any bugs or something. So we're just taking it a little bit slower, so we don't announce a result that is wrong. But yeah, we should have it pretty soon.
Yeah, I also love the fact that there's the models and the labs. So you can collapse all of the OpenAI and just say, hey, OpenAI is the leading agentic one, Anthropic behind them. And very interestingly, based on this, you have ZAI with the GLM models. MIT license fully is number 3 for Agent Arena. on top of Google, on top of Kimi Moonshot, on top of DeepSeek, ZAI comes at third place for GLM 5.1. This is very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, they seem to do really well. Yeah, and when I was testing, the models, they seem to do pretty well on agentic stuff, on the kind of coding stuff. Yeah, they're quite impressive.
Very impressive. All right, Peter. First of all, it's great to have you back. Congrats on this release. It's not easy. Let's see if Build Me the Most Beautiful Website in the World finished. Okay, we did finish. I'm just showing the folks that I'm like actually using the agentic arena right now, and I'm having this Elysian Enter Garden design, what feels alive. I've seen better websites, but it's not too bad. Was the task successful? I will say yes. You can also say keep working. And so I'm kind of getting your questions after the finished task, right?
Yeah, and you can keep using it as you would any other agentic tool. Yeah, more generally as well, this is very new. Any feedback you guys have about the leaderboard or the way the tool works, very keen to keep making it better. So yeah, hopefully you'll see some improvements as well as we go.
I had a very quick question. How did you guys build this? What kind of difficulties did you find in like running sandboxes for the users, and how is it measured? Is this measured on user input or?
Yeah, so it's a kind of a combination of user providing feedback directly. Then it's also looking at more objective factors, like for example, did recover from the tool call, for example, did hallucinate some tools, like things like that. So we can kind of combine different things. Yeah, and in terms of building it, the team was doing a lot of work in terms of doing the infrastructure lift of creating sandboxes, making sure that all of the different harnesses work well. There's a ton of work like that. But it's pretty much a whole new separate line that we didn't have before. Yeah, so it took quite a lot of effort from the team. And I would also say methodologically from our ML team, this was like a cool piece of work to just come up with a way, how do we even measure this? This was quite innovative. So yeah, shout out to the team.
Yeah, that is great. And I think, okay, so the last benefit obviously is while I would love to see real world agent users like Hermes OpenClaw, whatever, you guys have access to models before people with Hermes OpenClaw have access to models, right? And so usually different companies send you pre-API access and you will be able to surface them in agents. So when folks are using agents via Arena, they may get kind of the next unreleased model that's about to release just because you want to test it out, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and quite often this a little bit behind the scenes is that, when we test the models, especially if they're about to come out, we do prioritize those models. So it's not a random chance, it's above random chance. So whenever we are testing and you guys have a feeling that there's a new model coming around, then I think Arena is a good place to go and see if you get a good model.
Now, I think, folks, let's talk about image models. There's been a lot. And I think we have to start with Microsoft's MAI Image because I think folks in comments are asking. So let's go to Microsoft generally and then to MAI Image and then we'll move on. Microsoft launched 7 models at Build 2026. 7 models. We've been talking about the Microsoft stuff for quite a while since the acqui-hire of Inflection AI, where Mustafa Suleyman became the CEO of Microsoft AI. Mustafa also took the stage after Satya to talk about kind of their pre-trained from scratch models. They launched 7 models across thinking, code, image, transcribe, and voice. So image, transcribe, and voice, we actually told you about 2 or something months ago when they launched MAI Image 2 and MAI Transcribe 2 as well. Transcribe is actually doing very well on different rankings, artificial analysis. Arena as well. I think you guys have a TTS model comparison, Peter. Just let me know if I'm confusing stuff.
No, not TTS. We don't.
Not yet. Okay. So there's some confusing between different models. There's the artificial analysis one where they test out the TTS Arena. But I think the highlight here that we need to talk about and like most fits the show is the new MAI Thinking 1 and MAI Code 1 Flash. Fully trained, MAI Code 1 Flash is now live at GitHub Copilot. MAI Thinking 1 is the 35 billion parameter active, 1 trillion total. Very big, trained on 33 trillion tokens that none of this was distilled. Folks, what do we think about this new effort from Microsoft to distance themselves a little bit from OpenAI and become adjacent to Frontier Lab with training on their own completely? What things do we think? I don't think these models are public yet to try. I think they're coming. You can only use them via the Microsoft Foundry, I believe. But what do we think? Any thoughts from the vibes and from the feeds?
At first, I thought this was some other Chinese lab releasing them, but it's Microsoft. No, that's a good thing. They have to do this now because the cloud bill was getting way too expensive, and they're pushing Copilot on everyone. So it is pretty funny what this is just making them do now instead. Because yeah, it plays right into their bottom line, what they serve businesses and stuff too. So I think this is part of a wider strategy from them.
I think it's very interesting also. OpenAI recently discussed that OpenAI is now ending up on AWS as well. OpenAI models that previously were only served from Microsoft's Azure is now also on AWS, while also Microsoft is building their own models, kind of after having proprietary access to OpenAI models for a while as well. So we're kind of seeing this rift between the two companies. Not a huge rift, but also definitely it's there. Like the very strong partnership from before now is kind of split. OpenAI is available elsewhere, and Microsoft now training their own models and launching them from scratch. On AIME 2025 and AIME 2026, this model gets 94-97%. Swibench Pro is 52. Live Code Bench at V6. Peter, you guys didn't yet put MAI models on the arena, right?
No, I don't have anything particularly to say. I haven't tried them either. So yeah, the only thing maybe to add is it looks like it's about kind of second tier model. But if you notice what they talked about at the keynote was that you can fine tune them and using it for in the kind of, what did they call it? Hill climbing
machine. Yes.
Yeah. So this is a little bit similar to what Amazon did with Forge, where you can, like, I'm not sure exactly the differences in the offering, but basically you can customize the model. So I don't know how useful that would be, whether you're just better off using the frontier model versus customizing the second tier model. But I think that's an interesting difference.
Is 100% interesting difference. Thank you for calling this out, specifically because many of the other labs are moving away from fine-tune. OpenAI is closing down their fine-tune offerings. Anthropic, I don't remember if they ever offered fine-tune, and if they did, they're definitely not like the forefront. They're not offering this as well. Microsoft is focusing on the hill climbing specifically for enterprises. A bunch of offering here are enterprises. It's available on Foundry only, for example, first. The architecture is specific to run on their like Maya Silicon stuff. There's a bunch of other stuff that's focused on enterprise as well. It's second tier for sure. But yeah, let's talk about this as well. So there's two models. One of them is already live and focused on the code on GitHub Copilot. And they're comparing themselves to Claude Haiku 4.5. So definitely they're not shooting for frontier. But for the past 2 years, I think they trained everything from scratch, and that is comment worthy. So shout out to Microsoft. In addition to this, they launched a bunch of other models. But I want to see if I have anything else to say about the thinking one. The no distillation from third-party models, no synthetic data in pre-training. We want to talk about this. 30 trillion tokens with no synthetic data in pre-training. LDJ, isn't that kind of insane if they're not using any synthetic or YAM like with that many trillion tokens in training?
Yeah, 30 trillion is roughly considered like the upper limit of how much you could really gather from at least like the decent quality sources after you deduplicate everything. But there's also things like technically not text data, but things like captioning YouTube videos and large data sets of literally just captioned YouTube videos, which itself becomes useful data, and that can end up being some trillions of data. But yeah, it's impressive.
Yep. And I think that the transcription model that's supposedly number one on the floors now is part of that. They're probably transcribing a bunch of data, turning it into non-synthetic data as well. So shout out to Microsoft about these. I do want to switch to talk about specifically the MAI Image model. MAI Image is part of the offerings that the Microsoft dropped of the 7 AI models. MAI Image model number 2 on Arena. And this is part of the bigger like creative explosion of image models recently. So MAI Image 2, this is on Arena, Peter. So this is you hitting number 3 on text to image and number 2 on image to image Arena leaderboards, where folks actually do compare them between the two outputs as well. You had a chance to play with MAI Image at all?
Only very little. So I don't have 100 comparisons to share. But yeah, I think it is like it is surprising how much effort they're putting into this, but it's really cool to see, to have another lab competing in this space.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm impressed how well they did, considering also it was a really quick jump between 2 and 2.5, and they jumped in the rankings quite a lot. They
jumped quite well. This is image evaluation comparators versus wins, and Microsoft Image 2.5 wins a lot of times on image cleanup and background regions and documents and diagrams. So this is image editing specifically, but they also are fairly creative as well. MAI Playground. So this is the thing I wanted to shout out. If you don't want to go to Foundry and whatever, you can try out their models in this playground.microsoft.ai, and you can say, generate a horse riding.
Oh, it's on Arena as well. If you go to direct.
Oh, you can just select it on Arena, yeah. But I wanted to show like their own thing. The thing is, I tried to create a few thumbnails for the show to do a comparison for you guys, and I received image failed. And I think it's because of some of the language. I think this model is a little bit too restrictive, and maybe Microsoft is focused on like enterprise, but I definitely did not receive some of the stuff. Okay, this is our result quickly for MAI Image. When I said generate a horse riding an astronaut on the moon, I received an astronaut riding a horse on what seems to be clippings of images of the moon with some white background. So this is not the best. I'm going to do a thumbs down. This isn't what I wanted. So MAI Image 2.5. I found it, Peter, to be very frank, I found it very interesting that there's so much preference to MAI Image. When I tested it out compared to other image models that launched recently, I did not get as excited. Obviously, this result for us is not the best, although the horse does look nice, but definitely not what I asked before. And I find it very interesting that most of the image models are secondly to ChatGPT Image 2, which is still by far the best one that's out there that we've tested out together, Peter, on live stream. If you remember, you showed us over 500 generations that you did. Okay, so MAI Image 2, let's see what else. There's a Flash variant. It runs on H100s. Let's see what else I can tell you about this model. I will tell you that I personally did not love this model compared to other ones. And let's talk about the other ones because they are like breaking news. There's two other models that I want to bring to your attention. And also somebody told us in comments that Grok, imagine what 2.5 was there, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see comments super quick. This is also somebody that said that's new. Grok Imagine. Do you guys remember what the number of Grok Imagine they mentioned? I just want to make sure that like we're giving news. Let me scroll back. Okay. We will skip the guessing and we'll just move on. But Grok Imagine 1.5 released as new. But I haven't seen this, but supposedly it's very good. Okay, so in addition to, let me switch back to the co-host face here. In addition to the Microsoft MAI Imagine 2.5 hitting number 3 in Arena, Ideogram 4 drops the best open weights text to image model out of nowhere, 9.3 billion parameters with insane text rendering. Let's look at that one because I think that this one is very interesting. Ideogram previously for the 3 versions were just locked to their website. And Ideogram was always very good at textual stuff and kind of like the graphic design part. And I find it very interesting that they now drop the next one is open weight, non-commercial model. We can look at some of the generations, but they are hitting, let's look. They also announced some Arena results, I think. Oh, they announced Design Arena results. So you can see Ideogram on Design Arena, which tests the design approaches. They're just behind Gemini, Flash, and Nano Banana. And Ideogram has dense and accurate text rendering. That's what they claim. I, for some reason, did not receive accurate text rendering when I tested. And I think it's because maybe my prompting was different. So I think that this model specifically was trained on JSON prompting and building boxes. I think that this is the unifying thing about bounding boxes. You can see that this model is kind of like focusing on very specific areas. Hopefully you guys can hear what I can see what I'm like sharing. This model is trained on knowing which kind of bounding boxes have what thing in them. And I think that with this, it learns the structure and understands better, and you can prompt it with precise bounding box positions for fine-tuning layout control. I think that this is very interesting why it's open source, because you can build interfaces around this. One such interface I'll show you in a second. They claim typography is one of their coolest things. Just look at this beautiful typography. Look at this double things. The smash words have different roses through it. The future of design is unfinished. I can barely read this. This is how cool this is. Yeah, some of these generations are vastly beautiful. So shout out to Ideogram. And I think the highlight here, and we need to absolutely shout out, is they are dropping the weights. This is out of nowhere. And yep, dropping the weights and launch partners, Cloudflare, Magnificent, Foul, obviously all of them. And then you can have a bunch of technical details here. But openness drives innovation. We're excited to work with developers and enterprise to customize Ideogram 4, unlock new frontier of media and design. I've tested it out, and I want to show you what I tested it out on, because the other model is Reve, Luigi, LDJ, how do you pronounce this? Reve? Maybe?
I'm actually not sure.
Yeah.
Reve,
Okay.
maybe? Yeah.
I call it Reve, but maybe it's Reve. Here's the comparison. It's going to be a little bit hard to see, but I think the Ideogram is, how should I say? I chose the best ones. And based on me, and let's call this wife benchmark, Banana Pro is the closest one to Alex that exists. You can see a bunch of generations here. You can see MAI Image 2.5. I added their error here because they did not let me to generate the thumbnail. And I find it ridiculous that an image model just tells me what it thinks with its overtraining on safety. There's nothing unsafe about this generation. So I could not include their comparison. I have a whole, I think the explosion part is what triggered it. But you can see that Ideogram 4, for example, generated pretty much everything well. The only thing I didn't like is that there was some typo here. Let's see if I can show you and zoom in here. Let me see if that's gonna, let me see if I can zoom in. Yeah, I think I can bring this here like that and then zoom in for you guys to see. So if you look at here, you have the Nemotron NVIDIA model, and then you have Nemo 1. You're gonna see the typo here in this area. Let me put an arrow up. So this I didn't like, NVIDIA model, because also two things. One, it already created a Nemotron here. So for some reason it decided to create another one here. But besides, this is a very nice generation from Ideogram. The thing is, it's open source as well. So I kind of like it. Any comments on some of these folks before we move on to the other model? Because I think that the Reve is very important to talk about as well.
I think out of these images, I think the MAI image one is the best absolutely here.
Yeah, I wish that I was able to test and did have enough time to test it compared to others. This is the whole kind of like a prompt that I have. It's a very standard prompt for the thumbnails that work on ThursdAI. I personally think that Nano Banana is the best adherence in clear instruction following. I think, Peter, you spoke to this as well. People prefer other models for their artistic stuff, but Nano Banana follows instructions so precisely that I'm pretty sure that this color that I asked for specifically is the right color for the ThursdAI logo. I think you can see that GPT Images 2 is overcooked, always overcooked. The skin is overcooked. Like if a GPT image comes as a model, no longer the P filter, I think, like the previous 1.5, but definitely you can see the kind of the grunginess of their model.
Yeah, just to mention, I think they ranked like number 8 on the Arena.
Ideogram is?
Yeah.
Number 8 on Arena, and I think they're the first in open source, right?
Yeah, I think that's right.
So this is like the highest open weights model out of all of them, which is very impressive because we have competitors like Flux and BFL, obviously. There's some news about BFL as well, but I think we'll skip them. Okay, I do want to talk about Reve before Chris Alexiuk joined us, because now Reve 2 is dropping as number 2 on ImageArena, text-to-image arena with 1200 ELO. It's crazy to see how GPT image, how vast the jump is still. It's really crazy to see how vast the jump is. But Reve drops just above Nano Banana. I found it very interesting. I love Reve. I told you guys before. Shout out, by the way, Reve gave me, after I complained that their stuff didn't work, they gave me like a 1 month credit thing. Not sponsored necessarily, because I'm not fully going to talk only about the good things. But some of the generations are very well done. Not this one. You can see, if I zoom in here, you can see the little finger. This is not a normal human hand that's happening over here. And also, I think the face also is absolutely not the face that I would love to show on my, it's very cartoonish, very like crazy googly eyes face. And also, how should I say, the difference between all those 4 generations is kind of crazy. This one is okay, but still look weird. This one is completely different person, almost entirely different person here. We'll wait while it loads. And then, is this it? No, I think it literally didn't load completely. And then this one also. It's just kind of like me, but not really. And then also the colors are wrong. But this is not what's interesting about this model. And this is not what's interesting at all about this model, because this model is built on layout engine. When I edit images with tight precision, I've never seen a more tighter control for image generation models than this. I think it's crazy valuable to have a layout model like that. And so I do want to shout them out for not only being number 2 at different places, but also for this very innovative approach for generations.
Maybe something to add is, while we can't measure this kind of editing that you just demonstrated, which is really cool, if we, when you say the second, this is correct for the text to image, but on the image edit, then 9th. So when you were doing your tests with your thumbnail, I think that's also reflected in the ranking. So
Yeah.
they seem to be really good at text to image, but not necessarily the editing.
Yeah. And definitely the likeness of the editing is what I was looking for. But going back to the kind of layout, you guys can kind of see the boxes here with a little shader. You kind of see the image come to life. And you already can see, even though the image didn't generate yet, that the changed letters that I said imploded were in exactly the same text. It's just saying imploded. And when I moved my head to the left, it worked. When I moved to the bottom, it worked. And the ThursdAI logo is kind of down now. And we'll see how well this works. But I think that the whole editing thing is, Peter, they have the whole, how to say, the model is kind of the brain of this, but they also have this very nice editing interface that you guys probably can't replicate, obviously, in Arena, because the folks just update and edit with prompts. I think folks need to know that the native image editing features in Reve are just incredible here. It may still not look like me, and I do think that some stuff disappeared, like the ThursdAI logo just completely, I think, disappeared. But you can see that the news imploded. Let's see the differences between the two. 1 and 2. Yep. So some stuff disappeared, but generally, I think the fact that it's absolutely the same text is remarkable. All right, so this is the updates from the image generations. There are text to image number 2, and in image editing, they're like in behind. Folks, we'll take a look at Grok image 1.5, I think, at the next thing. Again, here's my comparison for these different models. Reve image V2, I didn't like the finger, but everything else looks incredible. Ideogram, GPT image, and Nano Pro. I still think, despite the rankings, Peter, don't get me wrong, but I love Nano Pro for editing and specific instruction following. I just like, absolutely. Maybe it's because my prompts are Nano Pro tuned. I love GPT images, but it's overcooked. And I think, LDJ, you love the Microsoft AI one, which is obviously very funny.
Yeah, on a serious note, I like GPT images V2 a lot.
Yeah.
And I think it depends on what you're doing, but for the most part, I think GPT images V2 and Nano Pro are pretty similar here. But it might also be more of a preference with Nano Pro, let's say for someone that maybe has already used Nano Pro a lot, has adapted their prompting style towards it, has gotten used to its style, and then that would make it also harder to move to something like GPT images.
Yep. All right, folks, I think it's time for us to move on a little bit from the images. So just a brief recap. All of these models are competing on the Arena, like text to image and image editing rankings. It's been really crazy to see. Peter, I don't know how you guys like are able to keep up with all these news, because like in one day, Ideogram came up and then they said that they're jumping in stacks, and then Reve launched at number 2 and MAI also, and they're all like showing different rankings. I think it's incredible just to see how many new image models we now have out of the box. So Ideogram is open source. Definitely go check them out first. Reve's editing experience is great. Also, definitely check them out. And MAI Image, if we're able to generate with them, is going to be also great. I think it's time to go back to open source, because with us, we have a dear friend of the pod. Let's add him here, who added his nickname as Joe Nemotron. Well, Chris Alexiuk from NVIDIA. Welcome, Chris. It's great to see you. Welcome back on the pod.
What's going on, guys? Always great to be here, and I get the pleasure of joining you today from NVIDIA HQ. So I'm in Santa Clara in the Bay.
Wait, hold on.
I'm very excited to be here. Very excited about the model. Yeah, here we go. Here's a little look.
Nice.
And you can actually render the building perfectly in GPU because it's all triangles. So.
It's all triangles. I love that.
Yes, sir.
Chris. Even so, it says Joe Nemotron. The reason why it says Joe Nemotron is because you are the hype man for Team Green. By the way, check out my background, Team Green, to represent Team Green today. They're dropping the big boy Nemotron-3 Ultra. And I have a bunch of questions for you, but also this is not your first time. We talked about Nemotron before, so I definitely want to, first of all, shout out that you guys are doing incredible work in open source, releasing datasets as well, but also there's a few more advances there and speed advances. So first of all, let's do a proper announcement, because this is how we work. NVIDIA Nemotron-3 Ultra, tell us a little bit about this from the factual stuff, and then we're going to dive deeper into the conversation piece.
Yeah, so Nemotron-3 Ultra is a 550 billion parameter sparse MOE model with 55 billion active parameters. It is a model that's designed for agentic harnesses. So what that means is open code, Hermes, open Claude, those kinds of things. This is the idea. It's obviously, we think that faster models are smarter models. So it's designed primarily with efficiency and speed in mind. It's available on Hugging Face. You can try it out at build.nvidia.com or through OpenRouter. It's fast, it's smart, It's not the smartest model in the world, but it's pretty close and it's quite a bit faster. We're really excited overall about the model. The team did an amazing job. All of the details are open. You can read the tech report. You can actually use and look at the recipes that the team used to train the model on GitHub. It's all as open as we can literally feasibly make it. There is not a way to make it more open I'm aware of. We're also releasing with it an update to a Gen RM, so reward model, which is something that we used in the process of training. As well, we'll be open sourcing a bunch of teacher models that were used for multi-teacher on policy distillation, so that you can look forward to that in the coming weeks. So we're opening up as much as we can. Obviously, we're excited about the model itself, but it's fun that we can open up everything.
And I want to shout out that it's now also available on CW Inference. Let's go.
Let's go. Let's go.
We really like put forward an effort to support this on day 0. You guys just launched it essentially today, right? This is like breaking news from today. So it's great to have you here at launch day, but also it's great to say that the folks at CW Inference pushed through to support a full, I think this one is BF15, a full model here. So great. Chris, I do want to talk to you about the different NVFP8, NVFP4.
NVFP4, yes.
Yes. Tell us about this. What does this mean? For folks who are listening and maybe have some idea about some quantization stuff and model training weights, etc. Like, what does NVFP4 mean? And how does it compare to previous FP4?
Yeah, so NVFP4 is basically for Blackwell architecture GPUs. The idea is that like we want an NV, or we want like FP4 because we want like small quants, right? So we want to be able to deploy the model on fewer resources, but we really don't want to lose accuracy. And we want to make sure that the model retains like performance as in intelligence. So NVFP4 is our solution for that. Something special actually about this release that wasn't true in the previous release is that you can actually run this NVFP4 checkpoint on a Hopper and Ampere. Previously, you could only run it on Blackwell, and you're not able to run the NVFP4 kernels directly on Hopper and Ampere, but you are able to use our team built like basically kernels that allow you to run NVFP4 on Hopper. So there's no FP8 checkpoint because there's no need. We used to release FP8 as like a compatibility quant, but there's no need. You can just run NVFP4 checkpoint directly on whatever GPU you're used to.
And I think also worth talking about is the hybrid Mamba-Transformer architecture. Is that why it's like faster? Our image here, the research that we did says 5.9x faster inference for long-running agents. Is that all attributed to the hybrid Mamba-Transformer architecture, or are there some other stuff in there?
Yeah, what I would say is every single architectural decision piles together to get that number. So everything about the model is the model's architecture is to make you go faster. So hybrid Mamba-Transformer definitely, and hybrid attention I think is a pretty standard pattern, but for the most part, that's going to really help in long context situations. The hybrid architecture helps once you get into those like 64K plus sequence lengths, which we're running into a lot, both because we're having like many turn long conversations, but also because people love dumping in their code base, right? And then just letting the model rip. Yeah. So that's where that helps. And then a number of the other decisions like latent MOE come together into an orchestra that gives us those really good performance as in throughput numbers.
I think the thing to highlight for folks who are listening and maybe not as like deep into this is because shorter context windows, they get advantage in the previous world of chatbots, right? Like when you usually ask a few questions, whatever, and most people don't carry out their chats to very long context windows unless, again, they dump the code base and say a question about this. But now that we have agentic loops running, we're constantly getting into those longer context windows. And obviously that's where the speed matters most. And I think that there's something about this model that you like focused on harnesses specifically. Could you talk about the agentic approach and harness approach as you guys like evaluated, hey, we're launching the chunker, we're launching the 550 billion parameter model, and we know that the world is moving towards the open clause and Hermes. And we would love to talk to you about like the stuff that Computex had on stage as well, because NVIDIA is almost all in on the agentic world and the agentic reinvention of PCs. And I think, talk to me about how this is reflected in the Nemotron-3 chip.
Yeah, so we know a few things about agentic tasks. You outlined one, which is that they have quite a large number of turns compared to traditional chat use cases, and every turn basically adds a lot to context. When it comes to like the agentic world, we also know that agents need to be quick, right? The more tasks per unit time you can complete, oftentimes the better the agent's going to be. And so that goes along with our faster models or smarter models mentality. And also we know that the tasks we need agents to be good at are no longer things like what's the capital of France. That's dope, but we're not as worried about that as we are like that it can properly call tools.
We're definitely not going to run the 550 model to ask what's the capital of France. We have 1 billion models for that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what we did is with this multi-teacher on policy distillation that I mentioned earlier, the idea is that we want to cook up teachers that are really good at those agentic tasks and then use those to make sure that the final ultra checkpoint is great across all of the kind of like standard useful agentic processes like tool calling, long context understanding, these kinds of things that are like crucial to building a good agentic model. And something else that we want to focus on is NVIDIA doesn't have a harness, right? There's no open NVIDIA code, which means that we really want our model to be good at many harnesses. And so I think a lot of models can hide in some harness maxing where it's like you're really good in 1 or 2 harnesses or your proprietary harness, but then outside of that, the model can struggle a little bit. So what we really wanted to focus on with this release is being a drop into whatever harness you're used to. Ultra should do okay. I think that led to some good benefits across the board for these kinds of tasks, just avoiding that kind of urge to harness max.
Chris, I want to ask you a question that is not technical, but straight up, I want to just focus on your face when you answer this. Why is it important for NVIDIA to release open models when NVIDIA also sells GPUs to frontier labs that also release proprietary models? Why is it so important for you to keep pushing the envelope, to release bigger and bigger models, to train, and to give away everything, including the data, the training recipes, and the teacher models? Why tell us?
I think that what I would say, what I've heard said a lot from people like Jensen and Brian Catanzaro, right, Jensen obviously a leader of NVIDIA, Brian Catanzaro, who heads up our research arm for NVIDIA, it's integral, it's crucial to NVIDIA's mission to be good at producing models because people use GPUs to make models. That's just a fact. They use them to train models, to do inference with models, they use them to run their agents. And if we don't know how to build a good model, if we can't build a good model, we can't know what the best GPU is, right? We can't understand the exact best way to produce hardware. And this is a process that I think Jensen's talked a lot about up on various stages called extreme co-design, right? Where you have to build the hardware with the technology at the same time. And if you just do one in a vacuum, it doesn't mean anything. And the reason we want to open it is because we think that AI is a very useful tool and everyone should have AI and many different countries should have AI and many different organizations should have AI and they should have a blueprint that we know works and is battle tested that you can take and you can build your own models and for your own agents. And if we're not releasing that stuff, because we're doing it, so if we're doing it, we may as well release it, share the learnings. And I think Brian says this a lot, like the ecosystem benefits when we release something because then the ecosystem does something with our stuff and we learn from it and then we get better and then we make better hardware and then we make better models. Right. That's to summarize the thoughts of people that are at the helm. That's why we do it. Right. For me, as just a guy, Chris, the guy who joined NVIDIA, I joined during the Llama days, and I'm just really happy to be part of a company that's carrying on the open source AI torch and actually giving the stuff back to the community so we can all get better together.
We definitely applaud this. We just came back just literally applauding this. So this is great. I want to show.
Excellent.
This model is now available on the W&B Inference. This is Nemotron-3 Ultra. Go ahead, Nisten, while I play with the model.
This one is not multimodal, right?
No.
Yeah, this one's text on. I just implemented it from W&B Inference. I can probably show how plug and play it is. I think I was screen sharing.
Also, Nisten, by the way, congrats, won the best use of Nemotron at the Toronto Spark Hack over the weekend.
Oh, let's go.
I was able to see him in person and he cooked pretty hard with our ASR model, which we also released another one of, by the way.
That's my next question to you. Yeah, definitely want to chat about this. Nisten, you want to show off how easy it is to plug in your thing? Let me switch on here.
Yeah. Tell me if the screen is streaming or not.
Yeah,
because this whole harness, it's like a medical anatomy thing, was just made for Kimi and Quen. But I was able to just plug in Nemotron, like right now from W&B Inference. And then I'm just telling it, show me the Achilles heel. And it's doing all of this agentically. It's highlighting different body parts agentically. And all of these tools are have to be very custom made for the Kimi and Quen. But I was able to just plug this in directly and it just works. So
that's our boy.
Yeah, that's it. There are some, it opens different organs and stuff, but yeah, it works. That's what I'm saying. It was pretty plug and play. And I just added the W&B Inference endpoint here. And it's pretty cheap, especially if you cache the stuff, 15 cents for the cached input and 75 cents. And it looks like nobody else is using this box right now in BF16. Yeah,
it's flying.
Awesome.
That's what you mean. It's definitely flying right now.
It was flying. Yeah, that's
great.
Yeah.
Chris, I do want to make sure that oops, I think this is now, we're taking off.
Yeah, we're good.
Chris, I want to make sure that we're utilizing your time here while also telling folks that, hey, you can find Nemotron around on 1b.me, but also it's live on Hugging Face in a bunch of other places. You also released an ASR model that's now like #1, the fastest model in the world for live. What is that about? Could you tell us a little bit? I just saw Quindla Kramer, also friend of the pod from Daily, co-announced this or somewhat. This is quite incredible based on just like the surface of it. Can you talk about the NVIDIA Nemotron ASR? Is that 3.5, right?
3.5, yeah. So it's no stranger to people who know, but for people who don't, we have a speech research team that just cannot stop winning. Like they are, I think pound for pound, they produce some of the best models that we have. Just I don't know what it is, but so Parakeet is the family that evolved into Nemotron ASR, and once again, it's just a really fast, very good ASR model. Like so this was actually the previous version of this was part of Nisten's project over the weekend. And like it I don't know what it is, just super low word error rate. It's really fast and it's small. It's
600 million parameters, basically nothing. Runs for 40 languages, which is quite incredible. But also it's 17x more throughput than a Parakeet RNN and also half the size. I find it just absolutely incredible. But also, what I do want to shout out is Quinn's post about this. So let's put up Quinn. I invited him to show he was busy, but like this is like apparently like a co-release, whatever. Quinn says that this is like the faster than any other model in the benchmark with respectable accuracy. The English-only model is equally fast, accuracy very close to the best scoring models available today. This defines a new point in the forever frontier of latency accuracy. Let's take a look at this. So just last week
on local hardware.
Sorry, say again, Nisten?
It was pretty much instant on the DGX Spark box.
So this is the Pareto frontier for latency to accuracy as well. And you can see the NVIDIA Nemotron Auto is here and NVIDIA Nemotron EN is very low as well. This is the corner that we're looking at, right? We're looking at the lowest speed and also lowest semantic words error rate pulled. And you can see NVIDIA is the lowest speed and very close to semantic, almost perfect semantically. We can see Cartesia, also friends of the pod here, which released Ink 2, which is absolutely incredible. Because the only thing that I don't like about this, I don't have an online place to play with this right now. I can't showcase this. If you have a link to an online demo, I would love it. But I wasn't able to find. This is my only comment about this release.
I'm sure you got something, and if we don't, I'll make sure we get you guys the link.
Yeah. So shout out to
I just cannot possibly shout out the speech team enough. The LLMs are dope. I love the LLMs, but your speech team has just released banger after banger after banger. If you don't follow the speech team, please do. They will release another great model. That's all they do. So
the thing with this is that because it's so small and because it's so good, now the price per hour comparison is coming into place. So let's shout this out as well. Back of an envelope per hour cost estimate for an enterprise deployment, probably closer to 5 cents an hour. For comparison, typical transcription API costs for major providers range from 10 cents to $1 per hour. So this is now a model that you can deploy, significantly cut your cost by half of it or even more. Very optimized, essentially immediate. And if you are building
again, you can run it on a toaster, right? So I don't know. I can't glaze the speech team enough, to be honest with you. So
I actually do want to kind of now.
There is an endpoint on the build NVIDIA dev thing, but
no, but you know what I want. I want to show that I'm talking and it shows up the things that I'm saying live on here. There's a nice visual interface, but we'll get there. We'll get there.
Let's ask Zanova to make a web GPU demo.
That's
really,
true.
It's so small that
I'm sure Zenova's cooking on this right now. All right, Chris, one last thing, maybe a few questions for you. Computex was NVIDIA's big announcement thing in the beginning of the week. There's a few announcements from NVIDIA. I know you're from the LM side of things. Just as much as you've been following the news with us, NVIDIA is a big company. Probably there's a bunch of stuff that you can speak to, and some of the stuff that you can speak to. There was a new era of PC. NVIDIA is stepping into the PC chip with RTX stuff. I think it's very important. Nisten, would love your thoughts on this as well. Obviously, you're interested in the world. NVIDIA launches RTX Spark, first PC chip packing RTX 5070 class GPU, 128 gigabytes of memory, and almost 1 petaflop of local AI into very thin laptops. I want to show Jensen presenting those laptops, and then I want to hear comments from y'all about, is this the new era of PCs? Because I know that for Max and the M chips series, people love running AI inference on them, but this is now NVIDIA stepping in together with Microsoft, together with a bunch of other folks, into the world of very thin AI compute on Microsoft. Asus, Dell, HP, Lenovo, MSI, and Microsoft all kind of gearing up together with NVIDIA to launch incredible AI-powered agentic PCs. Are we into the running agents on your hardware era, and will it run Nemotron? Chris, please tell us.
So it's not going to run Ultra locally, right? Which is big boy. But I think what's true, and it feels to continually be proven out, is that smaller models are getting better very quickly. The small model performances, as in intelligence, is very rapidly increasing. So there's not much plateau on the small model front for capabilities. Some of the very largest models, we're still seeing a little bit of plateauing, but not a lot, to be honest. And I think what this means is that, like, we're going to be in a position where we're running agents on our local hardware, like for our Claude or our Hermes agent, whatever it happens to be called, right? And because that's true, we need devices that are able to do that, right?
I think it's absolutely clear that I think since GTC, when Jensen stood on stage and said, hey, every company needs an OpenClaw thing, and now standing on stage and talking about Hermes agent and news research and showing off laptops that can actually productively run agents for you 24/7 without relying on cloud AI infrastructure, I think it's very clear where NVIDIA is going with this. So speaking of the companies that Jensen shouted out on stage, we have Karan, the co-founder of News Research, joining us. Folks, welcome. Karan, not your first time on the show, but welcome back. It's really great to see you. Co-founder of News Research. We chatted with y'all way before you were even the startup, I believe, like when it was just like a ragtag bunch of folks on a Discord. Since then, a few stuff changed. To the point where Jensen, the biggest company in the world, is standing and there's a huge News Research logo behind him. Bro, how did that make you feel? First of all, let's talk about the huge success of Hermes agents as well.
Thank you so much. It made me feel insane. I feel really lucky, and it's good to see you again, Chris. We were just chilling the other day, just shooting the shit on the NVIDIA.
Yeah, nice to see you again.
Hell yeah.
Just saw you on Tuesday. Hell yeah.
Yeah, we're back. I'm going to see you twice a week now. And it's good to see LDJ. Alex, always good to see you, man. And Nisten, LDJ, this is the crew right here. Wolfram, I know you've been using Hermes a lot. I got to see your interview on that. It was really cool. LDJ, I miss you. I know Alex has stolen you from us. LDJ used to be original.
Bro, I don't pay him, so if you want to bring him back and give him some money, you're welcome to.
I'm very lucky and grateful for the time that NVIDIA has given us, that you guys are giving us, and just excited that everyone's using Hermes agent like this. We made it to do RL rollouts on, right? We made it for the same reason Codex or Cloud Code were created by those labs. We didn't expect people to just pick it up and go so crazy over it, and for the community to come together. And my favorite thing was that it's self-improving, but it's also community improving, right? The community builds on top of it, and now the biggest contributor to Hermes agent today is Hermes agent, which is pretty
incredible.
Yeah.
Tell folks who are listening what News Research is at this point. We're in the middle of 2026. You guys have fine-tuned models before. You've released data sets before. There's a huge research arm behind with Emozilla and Boa and a bunch of friends of the pod as well. They're doing from long context research that everybody's using now to different distillation methods and different things. What is News Research, bro? Tell us, how do you define the company, what it is, and what are you guys doing? Obviously, with the entrance into the agentic world as well.
Yeah. Like you said, we've done a lot in the past, from post-training to doing the context length extension that made agents and reasoning really possible today. That kind of work, we're very lucky. I can't take any credit for any of it. It was all thanks to the work of that community group that eventually became News Research as a formal organization. So we've been an open source AI research lab from the architectural level. Also good to see you, Jan, been a very long time. From architectural research level to post-training models, we had done a lot of open source AI work. Now, not even just now, we had been working on agentic work for a long time. We had released the agentic tools and function calling stuff with Interstellar Ninja and a couple of people a few years back. I know that's another friend of the podcast for you guys. And so we had been exploring this for a while. And if you guys remember, people at the podcast, I know we do a lot of general purpose interviews, but I can get a little more contextual here and say that we had something called Forge going on in a while. Now we have the wonderful models that we have today, a wonderful architecture that Technium himself spearheaded. And we have this fully OSS, as Wolfram has pointed out, fully OSS agent framework today that is Hermes agent. You can do anything that you do on your computer using Hermes agent. It's got a computer use capability inside of it. You can use the full suite of language model capabilities, other model capabilities inside of it. It's meant to be something that grows with you on your computer or on your VPS or in the web, wherever you want, and just slowly automates more and more of your life, makes things easier and easier for you, and helps you continue to grow as a person, whether that's picking up new skills or doing new research or learning a new language. Yeah, it's a general purpose liquid harness, we like to say.
And it's beautiful. And I will say, go on the record here to say that the whole agentic era, personal agentic era for me started with OpenClaw back in like February, January, etc. And I've held out longer than Wolfram did. And then when I switched to Hermes, I think I'm on the record saying this, things just fucking worked. I have no idea how. With you guys have 1,100 open branches right now. There's 5,000 plus pull requests, 5,000 plus issues, and there's 181,000 stars with 31,000 forks on GitHub for the Hermes agent right now. This is an open source machine, and somehow this still works. Almost every update worked. Maybe recently I had one thing that screwed up, and maybe this was like my local change as well. And now it's getting to a point where like the biggest companies in the world are like putting you in the same kind of category. But I think the thing that broke it for me, and maybe what people don't know about you, is that you're an LLM psychiatrist as well. So two things I want to hear from you. Why is it better at GPT-5.5 specifically? And also, is it about the harness, about the connection to the model? And also, what are you using? I think folks would love to know not only about the general company, whatever, blah, and excitement for y'all, and super, super excited, but also what are you actually using on the day-to-day within your Hermes agent? What models are you preferring? Are you preferring open source? Would love to hear.
Absolutely. So I'll start with that. It's the easier question. Day to day, I'm using everything from Nemotron Ultra to DeepSeek V4 Pro to Claude Opus 4.7 and GPT 5.5. Definitely, I like to jump between these four models. Whatever I see come out locally, I have a 128 GB RAM laptop, so luckily. And so I test out whatever comes out in Hermes Agent. DGUFs aren't the most loyal thing ever, but it's okay. It's pretty good. And as long as Nisten keeps putting out quants, I think I'll be okay. As soon as he comes back into that world. But I'll say on the question of is it the harness, is it the model, what makes models perform, GPT 5.5 or even other models perform better? I say it's the same answer for everything, and the flavor is what's different, the particularities are what's different, but it's two things. One, like in context learning is king. ICL is more powerful than everything else by far. And the way that you feed context, the kind of context that goes in from your prompts, the way that you manage it, the way that you do memory and skills, all of that determines the capability of the model as context goes on. Now that these models are long context machines, ICL matters more than ever. So with that being said, it's the way that we build, manage, and compress context and the way we enable the model to do things. That, I think, is why it's more sustainable, why it's more usable over the long term, why it's more effective at executing things that another harness would try to execute. Now, on the actual autonomy piece and getting it to go and be agentic, et cetera, why that's effective. Because unlike other closed source CLIs, we don't have to put in a bunch of stuff about the model is this and the model is that and the model is this to some crazy ethos they've put together. Or for other open source harnesses, they may not have anything there. Instead, we understand that models seek reward, and the creator of the model's intent is not the same thing as the model's actual desire for reward. when we can line up that model's desire for reward with the user intent, as is meant to be during RLHF, as is meant to be during the system tuning, but the models learn the reward hack. We can use ICL to more effectively get that user desire aligned with the reward. We can lean into the power-seeking behavior of the models, actually. And by doing so, we can get much better results out of the same models that you use in another harness. Wolfram's Wolf Bench is a great example of showcasing how this works inside of certain models.
Yep. And speaking of Wolfbench, this is the thing I wanted to add here. Obviously, opening the floor for folks to ask Karan questions as well. Just the amount of harness engineering that goes into Hermes and everything you do. Can you speak to that a little bit? Harness engineering is a new-ish term as well. Just the whole harness concept started like somewhere maybe less than a year ago, and now this is the hottest topic in the world right now. What is harness engineering? What goes into building a Hermes compared to running this on other models?
So first you have prompt engineering, right? First you have how do you design the prompts, and that's evolved now that the power of the models is so much more. People start to call it everything else. And this prompt engineering work, or just being an ICL manipulator, has led us to breakthroughs like WorldSim, if you guys remember that simulated this TLI and led to simulated websites, simulated apps, and the first social agents that all used it as their prompt. These are all the inevitable precursor to an OpenClaw and a Hermes agent and a Claude code. After all, the first WorldSim stuff happened with Claude, right? So all that being said, I think understanding how to work a model inside of a simulated terminal helped us understand a lot about building the years that Technium has spent seeing all this work happen. I can't take credit for the way he's built a Hermes agent. He really built that initial piece, really solo, standalone, the first version of it. But having taken the lessons of what we've done so far in the past at News. So I think the first layer is prompt engineering. First is understanding that model's behavior. The second layer is the experience you have from post-training of what's really inside these models. What's the best thing I can do to pull it out? It's all prompt engineering. These are just basically subsets of it. Yeah. And then finally, I think it's leaning on the model to allow it to build itself. Like I said, Technium went from the sole creator of this to now not even the biggest contributor, because his creation, Hermes agent, is now its own biggest contributor. So I'd say these are like really important pieces, like leaning into the shape of the model and letting many models work together to build the harness out. Harness becomes a home, right? The more you embody a model, the better the capabilities become. The more you have the best models work on building the home itself almost becomes an intelligent thing at that point, where you can swap out GPT for Opus, for DeepSeek, et cetera, and watch the traits almost transfer and graft over from the context that's been left over or in the memories.
I would like to add one thing to the home analogy. So that is the difference between having a fully open source agent like Hermes agent, where you own the home, compared to one where you just rent a house, and if you don't pay the taxes or if you don't pay your rent, it may move. Or somebody may say, oh, I have to evict you because I need it now. Something like that.
Yeah, and we're obviously seeing multiple companies stepping into this agentic era where, you know, Gemini with Gemini Spark, which came out recently, and it's great for the Google stuff, the Google Drive stuff, whatever, but obviously you can change its code to fit you, Wolfram, like you do with your, for example. Nisten, I think you had a question as well, a follow-up for Karan?
No, I just wanted to also shout out that on the security side, first of all, on the user side, it takes 2 minutes to install and configure. It's very fast. Only the steps that you need are there. And also, I was very paranoid about running OpenClaw because of all the security issues. I have scanned this many times, even looked at myself. So I really like how it was built with as few packages as possible. And that, and I didn't see any security issues. So quick, nice, lean install, and easy to modify as well. So whenever on stream, on Discord, whenever we need some kind of custom, very custom endpoint for stuff, you're able to just redo the model right there.
Karan, you guys did have a release this week. In addition to Jensen calling out, there's a Hermes Desktop. Could you give us like a few sentences on that, and we'll move on to the next topic? But I do want to talk about the new view and desktop as well.
For sure. So Hermes Desktop and the new admin view, the general admin view plus OpenShell, et cetera, you could see with these controls of what someone's able to do or not able to do, control multiple people's Hermes agents within you, roles for particular types of Hermes agents. This is meant to be for big groups. This is meant to be for small businesses. This is meant to be for a startup, an enterprise, you and your own personal fleet. That's why we've been making these changes. Now, at the same time, we want every single person to be able to use Hermes agent more easily. Hermes Desktop is the same superpowered Hermes agent that you have. Yeah, so The Hermes Agent Desktop is basically just complete UI with chat interface and all your modular controls for your keys and your permissions that lets you still use Hermes as powerfully as you can today. It also adds a lot more visibility. You can see every tool call, you can see every chain of thought, anything that you need, and you'll be able to use the full power of Hermes just like any other app you would on your desktop.
This is, when you say every other app, I just want to call out, this is Codex level. This is what other huge labs are launching now. This is very much the same thing. This is a harness plus a UI that runs code on your thing. You can build every automation on there. You can see the code change. There's a bunch of stuff in there. And now there's Command K and stuff. I definitely check this out as well. You can talk to it as well. Karan, thank you so much for joining us. We have very few items left and very little time to cover them as well. But for folks who haven't tried Hermes Agent yet, definitely this is your invitation to try it. There's the biggest companies in the world are standing there with the news research that makes me feel so proud to have known you guys just before even this whole thing started, to just see Jensen shouting out and doing the Nima Hermes and like a bunch of other stuff as well.
I just want to shout out and say ThursdAI podcast has been here from day zero with news research. Some of the people on the podcast, like LDJ, have been some of the earliest contributors to news research. Everyone I'm seeing here on the stage right now is an OG from those days. And you guys make open source possible and worth it. And thank you so much for having me. We wouldn't be the same company without you guys' influence.
Yeah, I appreciate it. The amount of news swag that I have in my closet, I think outcompetes every other swag that I do have in my closet. I'm looking forward for some Hermes Agent merch next time we see each other. Karan, thank you so much for joining. Folks, the last thing, LDJ, you wanted to comment?
Yeah, just one thing I want to add as of recently, just insane the growth. If you look at the global rankings for OpenRouter, and here I'll put the link in the side chat too. It's Hermes Agent in the past month is more global usage on OpenRouter than Claude Code and OpenCloud combined. That's just crazy to me.
That's insane. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So congrats on the success, and we'll be monitoring. And a big new release is Karan. Please come back and talk to us as well. Cheers, man.
Bye.
Thank you for joining. Alrighty, folks, you heard from the co-founder of News Research of the incredible success, and you mostly heard from us glazing because it is that good. Yam, I promised in the beginning of the show to play to you how Nisten sounds in Hebrew. Are you still interested in that?
Let's go. Let's go.
Let's go. Okay, let me see how I can actually do this. But folks, what we talk about is last week, just after the show came out, we had a few breakthroughs in the world of audio and etc. And so 11 Labs launched Dub V2. Let me log in here to 11 Labs and show you this incredible thing. And so I actually did post this on the newsletter. So if you are following the newsletter, you know what I'm about to play. Let me see if, guys, I'm going to play something. Let me know if you can hear this, okay? So now I'm going to dub the next sentence that you hear. Awesome. Okay. 11 Labs created a new dubbing system, and I tested it out, and my mind went absolutely bonkers because the benefits of this dubbing system is that it dubs the cadence of your voice, but also in expressions. So it doesn't only translate you to text and then tries to play your voice. They take the actual voice from the clip and then somehow make it work. And so here's us speaking Italian, which I don't speak. Here's me and Nisten. Let me see if it loads super quick. Molte di Intel, tipo tutto ciò che alimenta le banche, gli ospedali, tutto quanto, in un anno. 7 volte più acqua va a quelle cazzo di mandorle. So, I have no idea what cazzo di mandorle is, but I know for a fact that this is a swear word because I used a swear word on the stream and it translated this. Here's Nisten in Hebrew, just for fun.
התפיסה המוטעית הזו התחילה מאיזה, היה מאמר אחד או מחקר אחד שפורסם, והם בלבלו שם בין מיליליטרים לליטרים במחקר הזה, ואז זה תוקן. אז יצא שהם יראו, אני חושב שזה היה בצ'ילה או משהו, שהם משתמשים פי 1000 יותר מים ממה שהם באמת השתמשו. חוץ מזה, הסיבה שאמזון בנט המרכזי נתונים, הם לא משתמשים במים בכלל, אבל הם בסופו של דבר משתמשים...
You guys have to look at Yam's face to appreciate what the fuck just happened.
Ragazzi, that's crazy. It's perfect.
Possiamo fare tutto il show di ThursdAI in italiano adesso.
Man, wow.
This is
no, that was me. That was not AI.
Bro, I'm saying when I heard myself speak in, and this is a very interesting thing because I do speak Russian, I do speak Hebrew. When I translate myself in Russian, I can hear the stuff that I would say differently. But listen, you don't speak Hebrew. And to me, this sounds like you would sound if you'd learn Hebrew right now. And the fact that it grabbed I don't hear your accent in English at all.
I could hear my own accent.
Yes, I can hear your accent translated to a different language. This is bonkers to me. This is just like,
Crazy.
it's out of the realm of what I thought Transformers would be able to get us to. For sure.
You expect them to do this, but you don't think about this.
No.
Like someone is going to do it. It's completely surprising that someone did this. But it completely makes sense. But man, that's cool.
Okay, a little bit more. Here's Nisten in Russian.
Но даже если посчитать то, что они тратят, вода, которая используется как жидкий хладагент и сильно нагревается от видеокарт, идет по контуру охлаждения.
This is literally the Russian influencers that are on Instagram teaching about AI. This is how they sound 100%.
It's crazy because you recognize the voice.
Yes.
It is seriously good.
So
Really,
11
it's not
Labs, when
just-
they launched before, they obviously work with Lex Friedman. You guys remember we talked about the very exciting conversation with Lex and Zelensky when they cloned their voices. They did this with a clone of their voices, with a long, deep clone of 2 hours of their voice, etc. And then they replay the parts and they play it with a TTS. This is one model that takes a very short clip with no train. I didn't have to do anything besides just upload the clip and say which languages I want, and they support a bunch of languages. Also, we know, Yam, from your experience with the Hebrew LLMs, there's not a lot of data out there for Hebrew. Hebrew is not a very vast language that is everywhere. The fact that it was able to do this at all, I was like very surprised. The fact that it does this well and it's understood, I was just absolutely mind blown. So folks, if you're listening to this and you're like, what the fuck are they talking about? They're talking about 11 Labs Dub V2, which is an absolutely just mind-blowing model that you have to try. It's worth the $5, whatever 11 Labs asked for it in the beginning. I think it was free for a week to just try it out. Wolfram, we didn't do German, but I would love to hear from you its performance on German. It's just absolutely mind-blowing. Here is Nisten speaking Spanish, by the way.
En el techo y hacen pasar agua por ellas y esa agua se evapora y eso hace.
Try Italian because I speak Italian with an accent. So we just,
You think?
How fast is it? Like when you try?
It was like, it took less than a minute for the 5 clones. It's definitely fast. I don't know how fast it is now, but definitely decently fast. I'm not gonna show this on stage, but because I don't want to show off my kids. But this is my kid. Here's her counting to 10 in English.
Hi, my name is Emma, and I love doing projects.
This is a dubbing of Emma because she said this in the original Russian language. This is what she said.
Привет, меня зовут Эмма, и я люблю делать проекты.
And just
It copies the intonation.
Yes.
It's amazing.
dude, it's great. You know what it copies as well? You know how we stutter before the word? Like it copies the fucking stutters in a different language. Now, the craziest thing, again, I edited down a video of this, and at the end of this video, this is what I showed. Let me show you. This is the thing that I did. I did the very short sentence in 5 languages. So now I'm going to dub the next sentence that you'll hear in 5 idiomas para que vean la prueba. ¿Vale? Bueno, mi nombre è Alex Volkov, ok? אני אנגליסט בינה מלאכותית. אני אוהב לדבר על מודו פוזitivo e lo faccio da 3 anni e mezzo a questa parte года каждую неделю в прямом эфире. Just nothing.
Over here in Germany, when a new movie comes out, it is completely translated in German. So real professional dubbing people are doing this, and there's basically no need anymore, and everybody can have their original voices just in the language you are speaking. Amazing.
Very interesting. So we're glazing, but we have a new commenter here said tested 11 Labs dubbing in Latvian to English. While the speaker similarity was a promise, it did revert to Latvian halfway through, leaving 64% of the audio untranslated. That's very interesting. I haven't tested it on long sequences. I did test it on short ones. But this is just one of the things that I wanted to show you as a super fast. Nisten, what's your comments on you speaking Hebrew? And then we can close out the show. I think we've been on for 2.5 hours.
Yeah, but grazie signori e signori, un'altra bellissima settimana qua ThursdAI. See you all. That was pretty good.
Not too bad. That's not too bad. Next show, Nisten will speak Hebrew. Original proper Hebrew. Folks, I want to just make sure that we ran through pretty much everything. The only thing is the Nemotron ASR, we weren't able to test and show you. What a show today, folks. We had Chris Alexiuk from NVIDIA talk to us about the biggest release in open source for a while from NVIDIA, Nemotron and RTX laptops and the NVIDIA 3.5 ASR. We had Peter Gostev drop new things on Arena AI, the agent arena that we now looked into and saw the Grok 4.3 is not that great at fixing itself in agentic. We also had Karan, the co-founder of NewSwitch, to talk about the Hermes and success, the thing that we did not speak about was weights and biases and CoreWeave. So we'll definitely do that, folks, even without the transition. This weekend, there's a hackathon. And if you're in San Francisco, please join us at lou.ma/weavehacks. We are doing a hackathon together with OpenAI and Cursor, and we have over $150 of credits for you to build very cool things. As you heard before, Nisten, who just dropped, just won a hackathon elsewhere. Winning a hackathon gives you great chances to go online. Also, Wolfram mentioned this before, but I really want to show this super quick because I think it's very important. Wolfbench has a new feature that I want you guys to see. Wolfram, you want to explain this really quick? Why this matters?
Sure. Are you showing it? Okay.
Yes.
So if you scroll a little bit down, so we see the model name. We see that on the second spot, basically, the second best model is Gemini 3.5 Flash on this benchmark, which is a lot of benchmarks here, the terminal bench and so on. But so they look very close, and they are very close in performance. But something these bars never show is how many tokens did it use to get that score. So we have now a toggle at the top where you can turn a 3D mode on, and now we see the depth of the bar is actually how many tokens it used. So 1 pixel is a couple thousand or even million of tokens. And if you hover over one of the bars, then you see, just move the mouse on top of it, and then keep it still, and then it will do a pop-up. It should do one if you hover over it, and it shows you how many tokens. So it was over 3 billion tokens for the Flash model compared to just a couple of 150 or something for the GPT 5.5. So that is something to keep in mind. You may use a cheaper and faster model, but it still has to generate a lot more tokens to get to the same capability level. And you have to really do the calculations to see if the time it takes to generate all the tokens and the money it costs, if that is, if it's still a good deal, or if you should.
Wolfram, this is incredible. This is incredible. Specifically, what I'm seeing now is that Gemini 2.5 Flash is number 2 on the agentic scores overall. But the amount of tokens it uses, this doesn't show it on the share screen, so I'll just read it out. Tokens in is 3 billion, out is 15.7 million. 3 billion tokens?
Yeah, that's the input tokens, basically. So the input is usually much more. Normally it's 99% input tokens. And that can happen for various reasons. One of the reasons could be that the agent made a mistake and ingested a large file, and the agent harness is not restricting that. That could be one of the reasons. So I will definitely write a blog post about this on our Weights and Biases blog, what is happening in the background. But that way you can really see, if you were running the agent that way, you would have that kind of tokens, and the bill would also be reflecting that.
Yeah. So definitely you can see that GPT 5.5 is the most incredible agentic model compared to
the
Hermes agent,
without
OpenClaw,
using that many tokens.
And Cursor agent as well. Well, thanks so much for this, folks. This has been ThursdAI. It's been a pleasure. We've been on the air for more than 2.5 hours. We had incredible guests and incredible news week, incredible packed news week. If you missed any part of the show, is available to you everywhere that you get your podcast. It's available to you on Spotify, on Apple, on YouTube. An edited version of the show comes to YouTube as well. I want to send a huge thanks to you, the listeners who show up and comment. We really appreciate the comments from you guys as well today. We did not get the update from OpenAI today that some folks were meaning that maybe it's going to come. I'm very happy that we didn't, because we're already 2.5 hours in and we didn't cover everything. But if you like this, and if this show is valuable to you, and if you like the energy and the guests and the type of stuff that we talked about and the depth of technical stuff that we go into, please give us a subscribe everywhere that you get your podcast. Give us a 5-star review. With over almost 2,000 folks who are tuning into the stream, this is Alex Volkov, AI Evangelist with Weights and Biases CoreWeave, Wolfram, AI Evangelist with Weights and Biases CoreWeave, Jan Peleg, and LDJ. We had Nisten here before, and other 3 great co-hosts. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're signing out. We'll see you here next week. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thanks, Alex, for
hosting.